Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. Checking out tonight's 10-game MLB slate, looking at some offensive targets. Quite a few games to kind of stay away from as far as runs go, especially a couple teams. Not a strong pitching night, so you can find plenty of offense on the board. Obviously, we talked about pitchers on the pitcher nail down, like Cueto. Talked about Keuchel being the top options, of course, but also some cheaper guys you can possibly pair up with them. So definitely check that out. But looking at offense here, should be a pretty strong night, especially in quite a few favorable hitters' parks. Jumping right off here, Cubs and Pirates, not a strong offensive park there out there in PNC. Just an over-under of 7. Game's basically a pick on Jason Hammel versus Garrett Cole. I'm not a big fan of offense in this game. Neither is Vegas. Both have Vegas run totals under 4. You can look at some of the lefties from this game. I think more so on the Pirates side if you want to get different. Guys like John Jaso, Gregory Polanco. And of course, on the Cubs side of things, you can always look at the really 1 through 5 there. You maybe kind of hope Garrett Cole has an off night. But overall, I mean, Cole's been pretty strong against left-handers going back to last year, just a 267 WOBA allowed. Keeps the ball in the park. So there's not really a lot to like. I think the price tags come down a little bit, make it a little bit more appealing. You get guys like Rizzo at 4,400, Fowler and Hayward both under 4K. FanDuel, not so much in play for me there. Really, this is kind of just a stay-away game for me. Next one here, you got Rangers and Toronto. This one I'm looking for plenty of offense in. And those Rangers bats really come at quite the discount. I mean, really all the bats in this game come at quite a discount on DraftKings. They're a little bit at their usual price on FanDuel. But getting guys like Beltre and Fielder for under 4K, Mazzara for under 3, Odor for under 4. I'm not sure what's going on with the pricing here, but it makes it incredibly easy to pay up at pitching tonight and just roster pretty much any hitter you want. Looking at the Toronto side, I'm breaking them down first. AJ Griffin, a pretty strong fly ball pitcher, which I don't like against this Toronto team in the Rogers Center. It's a little bit iffy. I know Griffin's been fairly solid, but overall, home runs still could be an issue here, and that's why I'm going to be chasing tonight. I don't mind him in cash or GPPs, but obviously Michael Sanders for 3,300. Leading off there on DraftKings, it's just an absolute steal. He's at 3,400 on FanDuel, so he's appropriately priced. But guys like Bautista, 4,100, Encarnacion, 38, Donaldson, 45. Griffin, extremely home run prone, 38% ground ball rate. I'm looking at this team heavily on tonight's slate, and I'm just a little bit baffled by the pricing. I mean, same with Griffin. I mean, he's 9,200 on DraftKings. It's crazy. But so really, you can look 1 through 5 there. I think they're very much all in play in all formats. As far as the Rangers side of things go, right-handed bats hit knuckleballers a little bit better than lefties, so I think that could be why there's a big drop in these prices. But obviously, with the Vegas 4-run total, I'm still looking at this team in the Rogers Center. I think more so in GPPs. The only guy that I might play in cash games is Adrian Beltre, but outside of that, you can treat these as a GPP stack on tonight's slate. Let's also get some nice one-offs for cheap, and they all come at a pretty good discount. But as I said, FanDuel's a little bit more appropriately priced. I think you can spend your money a little bit wisely there. Next game, you got the Giants and Reds. Obviously, you got Johnny Cueto heading back to Great American Ballpark, where he has pitched well in his career with an ERA under 3. Not a big fan of the Reds' bats against them. They could be without Zach Cozart tonight. He left the game yesterday. Obviously, the only 2 hitters that really kind of have any sort of threat against Cueto are Votto and Bruce right now. So you're looking at a pretty weak lineup. Vegas has this run total sitting around 3. Obviously, Giants are strong favorites, so you're really looking at them. But overall, I mean, you're kind of seeing what they do at the top of the lineup. But overall, I think Matt Duffy's a great play at third base if he's hitting third again. Very cheap. Not a guy who's hit strong numbers against left-handers in his career, but has had a little strikeout rate, solid hard ball percentage. Obviously, Finnegan, a decent lefty, but overall, I mean, he's a guy who I'm really looking to target with those right-handed bats. And obviously, Posey and Pence being the 2 elite names that have hit really southpaws well over the last few years and more so their career. Those are names. I'm curious to see what happens up top if you get an Angel Pagan or Gregor Blanco or Obviously, you probably won't see Block out there, but an Angel Pagan, Nard Span, kind of just seeing what they do at the top of their lineup before I plug them in. But obviously, 1 through 5 is certainly in play. Brandon Crawford, if you want a cheap GPP play, Crawford's my guy. He hit lefties pretty well for power last year. And looking at Finnegan, he's actually allowed a 340 WOBA to left-handers with a 1.47 home runs per 9 in his short time in the bigs. So that's something to keep an eye on if you want to kind of differentiate yourself, because I think Pringles are actually going to be a little bit driven to kind of those big scoring games on tonight's slate. Next game, we got Braves and Mets. Obviously, Bartolo Colon, Mike Foltynewicz. This is an obvious one here, looking at that Mets offense, who have absolutely been crushing his late outside of the last game, but as expected against Bumgarner. But overall, very much in play on tonight's slate. He's allowed a 401 WOBA to left-handed pitching, or left-handed batters with a 1.98 home runs per 9. 364 to right-handers with a 1.58 home runs per 9 going back to last year. Yeah, 1 through 6 definitely in play for the Mets. Obviously, Conforto, Cespedes, and Duda kind of stand out to me the most. Granderson, Wright, Walker, kind of secondary pieces for me. But overall, I think Conforto, absolute steal on DraftKings tonight, 3,800. Guy hitting third, Cespedes as well. Mets look like a great full-blown stack again, but also a great cash game team to kind of build your core around. Maybe 2 or 3 of those guys. I definitely don't mind it at all. And, with the pricing on tonight's slate, I think you can still work them in and fit in plenty of other options. Atlanta side of things, you can look at guys like Markakis and Freeman. Those are the only 2 honorable mentions at this point. Freeman's starting to come around a little bit more. Obviously, Colon, not a big swing and miss guy. Going back to last season, 310 WOBA allowed, low ground ball percentage. So Colon very hittable, but obviously this Atlanta team is abysmal on offense. So those are the only 2 real names to keep in mind. 720 Angels and Brewers, Jared Weaver, Jimmy Nelson, over under of 9. So this one's come up overnight. It was about 8.5. This one, I could see this one being a big time run scoring game on both sides. I could also see it being a complete dud, to be honest with these offenses. But overall, I'm going to treat it as a possible situation where you can get some hitters to go off. But I'm not going to be fully attacking it in cash games. I think there are some interesting one-offs. Obviously, Mike Trout stands out as the top play from this game, 5,200. I know Nelson struggles more so with lefties. That kind of puts Cole Calhoun into play. Obviously, everyone's getting a bump in Miller Park there with the Angels need. Going back to last year, Nelson, 365 WOBA allowed to lefties, 1.64 home runs per 9. So, I mean, you can really look at Calhoun as the only strong option on this Angels squad outside of Trout. But overall, Pujols is in play. Rafael Ortega, a cheap outfield play if you want to be different and get a little mini stack going. I'm also looking at the Brewers side of things. Obviously, Weaver, he's out there pitching with very depreciated velocity. Against right-handed bats, 324 WOBA allowed going back to last year, 34% ground ball rate, 1.28 home runs per 9. Not good numbers for Miller Park. I think home runs could be an issue. Obviously, Ryan Braun catches my eye. Jonathan Lucroy as well. At his price, he's a cheaper option than Posey, which is something to consider. Chris Carter, obviously GPPs, but I kind of like Jonathan Villar at shortstop tonight. More so on FanDuel at 2,700 because Villar only 600 less than Correa, who is at home tonight, and they have a big run total. So it's kind of something to consider. And obviously, if you want to look at Domingo Santana up top, you can do that. But overall, Braun, Lucroy kind of stand out to me. Carter, obviously, a GPP pop type of guy. Jonathan Villar, I think, kind of a safe play in all formats tonight, just because he's been pretty solid out of that 2 spot. So you should find plenty of offense there. Houston and Minnesota in Minute Maid. Players are going to receive a bump here. Obviously, Jose Barrios, right-hander. Vegas has Houston projected for a pretty high run total. I'm kind of buying it at this price. I know Barrios is obviously a touted prospect, but we didn't see that in the first start. Had some walk issues. So overall, I know this team's not patient, but they also are definitely a threat to go off tonight. I actually like both sides of this, this game. As far as talking myself into maybe a deep GPP play like Barrios, or fully attacking him. Guys like Altuve obviously up top, Springer, Correa, Rasmus, Tyler White, all catch my eye. And Rasmus's prices come back down below 4K on FanDuel. So overall, I think this is actually kind of a fairly cheap stack you can look at tonight. One of my favorites. I think it ranks in the top 3 for me with Toronto and the Giants. And overall, I think Keuchel's going to pretty much shut down these Twins bats. I can't really see doing a ton off of them just because his ground ball rate's pretty high. I know the ballpark's better, but overall, it's not a game I'm going to be chasing. This next one here, you got Washington and Kansas City, both run totals under 4. Outside of Harper, I think this is about where I'm going to stop with this game. I don't expect a ton of production. Lorenzo Cain's the only honorable mention on that Royals team that can hit left-handers. But overall, I think both these teams in this ballpark, which doesn't allow a ton of fantasy production, is kind of a stay-away game for me. Next one here, you got Phillies and Cardinals. I like the Cardinals side of things. Jeremy Hellickson on the hill there. You can definitely look at those left-handed Cardinals bats. Hellickson going back to last season, 343 WOBA allowed to lefties. That puts a lot of those bats in play. Guys like Matt Carpenter. Really looking at Brandon Moss as a nice GPP option on tonight's slate. Outside of that, there are guys like Piscotty, Holiday, Grichuk who kind of catch my eye. Hellickson definitely not a strong pitcher. I mean, 326 WOBA to right-handers as well, 1.52 home runs per 9. So depending on what the Cardinals roll out as a lineup, we're always getting a different one each day. Could see Hazelbaker in there or something like that, Diaz as well. All would be interesting plays. That's going to be one where the lineup kind of factors into my decision. But overall, you can attack Hellickson. I know he's obviously coming off a start against Washington where I said the same thing, but this guy's not a good pitcher. You can attack him whenever you want and feel good about it. So that's going to be the case again here with the Cardinals. You get next one here, Mariners and Oakland Athletics. Another Vegas run total, both under 4. I'm not a big fan of this bats just in this stadium. I know the price tags are a little high. Like Robinson Cano, 49K on DraftKings. That's absolutely insane. If you want to take some cheap shots with guys like Seth Smith, Adam Lind, I don't hate it. Overall, I'm not a big fan of this game. Carnes, he's a guy I'm actually looking at as an SP2. Graveman as well, just because they're so cheap and this run total is so low. If there's anyone in the late game, I'm actually looking at the Rockies side at their prices. I mean, Blackman, 3,600 DraftKings, 41 for Story, 38 for Cargo, 41 for Arenado. You're looking at Shields, 368 WOBA allowed last season with a 1.95 home runs per 9. He's looked okay this year, but obviously I think the home run pronus and Petco actually enhances power from the left side, as we saw last year dramatically. The Rockies actually make for an interesting stack tonight. I think they're going to be a little bit lower owned just because it's still Petco and Shields is a decent name, but also they're not as obvious as guys like in Toronto or Houston or San Francisco that you're kind of looking at. So I think they are an interesting play. I don't mind a guy like Blackman up top hitting leadoff with his stolen base ability. I know he has the toe issue, but overall should be a safe play. As far as the Padres side of things go, I'm still not really attacking anyone here. I know Gray's obviously struggle, but you're looking at anyone's going to struggle in Coors. I think he has a shot to actually throw a decent game tonight. If anyone stands out, it's probably Matt Kemp. That's the only lone option that I'll consider today. So that's going to wrap things up with the slate breakdown. Check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.